freaking good. I like this beer a lot. This is the New Belgium Citradelic. Really good. Anyway, my name is Fanta. You are watching FANTAVISION, and welcome to Foodservice Fables. Yes, that's right. Foodservice Fables is what I came up with for this. I'm going to call it a micro-series because this is not Tales from Retail. It's not going to be a weekly thing. I don't really have too many stories about my time at the Chinese restaurant because that's the only place, restaurant-wise, that I've worked at. And I'm sure, I could probably turn this into something else. You know, I could probably have you guys send in your stories if you guys have worked in the food service industry. We could do something like that. But for now, this is kind of a one-off thing just because somebody did ask me to talk about my experience at the Chinese restaurant that I worked at. I'm not going to say the name, obviously. I guess I said it. There's so many different Chinese restaurants that are all named the same thing. Let's just say there's Dragon in the name. So I worked at the Dragon Chinese restaurant. But there's so many Dragon restaurants. You can look them all up. But then again, I guess a lot of people. Anyway, so the Dragon restaurant is where I worked, and that was the only restaurant that I worked at. But I definitely did have some things I wanted to share about my time there. But I also didn't want to include this in Tales from Retail because it's not retail, so I just couldn't. So we have this now. So thank everyone thank the person that made that comment because now you guys get a bonus video about me rambling, basically me rambling about my time in minimum wage territory. I guess I was a busser though, because you can't really call a busser or a waitress or waiter, or you can call a hostess, I think, a minimum wage job because they're actually paid that minimum wage and they don't get tips or anything. Usually the hostess doesn't, or host. If you guys are I don't know if people get triggered about that kind of thing, but if the whatever gender host person, they definitely get, minimum wage because they don't rely on tips. But for some reason in America, since the Great Depression, we still have freaking tips, so we still have to deal with this stupid tip system. So I got paid like $5 an hour, and then my tips had to make up for the fact that I'm not getting paid minimum wage. Otherwise, my employer is supposed to pay me minimum wage, whatever the difference is. And the waitresses get paid even less, but they got more tips because I didn't get half the tips. I only got it was like 20%. It was something stupidly low. And you might be thinking, Fanta, come on, you're a busser. You're just cleaning tables and setting tables. You don't have to interact with the customer. You don't have to deal with anything like that. So why do you even need that much more tips? Why do you need more? And that's because the busser job at this place, I didn't just do the normal busser activities. Because normally a busser, like I just said, cleans tables, sets tables. That's it. They're just constantly the cleanup crew, making sure everything looks nice, sweeping, vacuuming, whatever, kind of like the janitor of the restaurant. At Mr. China Dragonville, I had to do way more than that. I had to not only clear the tables, I had to basically follow the hostess around, and then when she seated them, I had to immediately greet them again after they just greeted the hostess. I had to greet them again and get their drink orders. Sorry, I get distracted because my roommate is screaming. So not only am I now, let's add up what I have to do. I have to get drinks, I have to clean, I have to set, and then I have to there was one other thing I had to do. There were other things I had to do throughout the night, not only clean tables, but I also had to clean menus, and I had to make sure the floor was clean. So that's quite a bit already, right? I also have to clean the silverware when it comes out, because whenever you put the silverware through the dishwasher, usually there is still crap on the silverware. I know this is pretty gross. I ate there because it was free for me, because I worked there. I got a free meal the days that I worked. So the silverware would still have pieces of food on them sometimes, so I'd be going through them all with a napkin, wiping them off, drying them, and then putting them in the tray to then later set tables again. And I also had to see the drinks. You might be like, well, that's not a big deal. You're just getting people's drinks. I mean, Fanta, why are you complaining about getting people's drinks? Now, the reason I'm complaining about getting drinks is because it is a pain in the frickin' ass, especially at this restaurant. I don't know where they bought their glasses, but these were the heaviest duty glasses, the heaviest in weight glasses I've ever experienced in my life. I mean, you got 2 glasses and it feels like you've got like 10 pounds. And when we got like huge parties of people and I'm getting all of their drink orders, mind you, my memory's terrible, so I have to remember all this. And I have to like carry them on the, like I fill the whole tray and they're this thick, like thicker than this. Like this is pathetic compared to what those glasses are. Like this is what a glass should be, right? Look how thin that is. It's nice. It's pretty light except for this big thick chunk at the bottom. They were even thicker than this mason jar. They were insane, and they were spiky on the sides too. It was like they bought these glasses just to torture whoever the busser was. That's what it felt like. I mean, those things were insane. I mean, you throw that glass at a window, it's just going to go right through and not shatter. It'll be just fine. So enough about the glasses. That was one reason why drink orders sucked. The other reason is because my memory is terrible. I Diet Coke, Dr. Pepper, and a Coke all at the same table. I better make sure I remember which glass I put where. Otherwise, I'm going to get to the table and go, oh, they all look the same. I'm screwed. Which was once again difficult for the large tables when it was a giant party and I had to kind of organize it by the person where they were sitting. And I could never balance the big tray because I was never carrying dishes on those things except for when I was, not even then I'd grab the bucket. So I never really got it down because it was just glasses and they were so weirdly weighed. Like I tried to balance it out on the frickin' tray and it's like swaying because it's liquid. And I'm like, screw that. I'm just going to hold it with both hands and just kind of carry it around like that. Sorry about bumping the mic. So that was fun. And then another thing is a lot of the drinks are a pain in the ass. For a while, thank God, I couldn't serve alcohol. In fact, I think the entire time I was there, I was not allowed to serve alcohol because I was too young. I was about 16, and then I think when I left, because I was living there for about a year, I think I may have just turned 17. Yeah, because that's when I started working at GameStop. So, 16 going on 17, I was working there. Couldn't serve alcohol at least. That was good because sake looked like a pain in the ass. And then the worst thing was the hot tea. That was such a pain in the ass because we had several different types. We had the black hot tea, which was easier. Wasn't too bad. You just take a couple bags, you throw it in there, you fill it up with hot water. You always burn yourself though because they have those like, once again, super heavy. I don't know why everything's freaking heavy at this place. This cast iron teapot. And you're trying to fiddle with the top and the handle, and you can't hold it at the bottom because you burn yourself. And if you hold it at the top, you're like next to the burning spout. And I know a lot of people are thinking to themselves, or they've worked in the restaurant that have dealt with this, and they're like, Fanta, you're an idiot. Well, this was my first job. Cut me some slack. Whatever. So you'd burn yourself all the time from those stupid things. They were super heavy, so you could only carry like 2 on a tray. And they were like wide too. They're like this big. And they always wanted like 2 or 3 cups. And some of them wanted like a cup of ice. So you've got like your one giant thing on it. You've got your 50 billion cups for that one table. And then that's fine for the black tea. For the green tea, you have to first install this like metal mesh thing, and then you take scoops of these like tea leaves, you put it in the thing, and then when you're holding it under, you have to make sure that the nozzle isn't too far, like you can't make sure, it's not too fast, so it doesn't like spill over on your hand and your leg and burn the hell out of you. So you've got that to deal with. I don't like hot tea to this day because of that. I just kept getting burned. I don't like hot tea. Hot tea is stupid. Put ice in it. Iced tea is better. I'm sorry, I had to say it. Iced tea is better. But then again, I'm biased. I like cold drinks. We've gotten completely off topic. I don't like hot tea because of that reason. That was the moral of that story. More things to talk about. People were just sometimes rude. Now, bear in mind, I'm only getting the frickin' drinks. And I still have people that would, like, yell at me over the dumbest thing. Like, oh, you put too much ice. Well, you didn't specify how many cubes you wanted. What am I going to do? Count them out? Did you want 6? What do you mean it's too much ice? Everybody gets the same amount. You get the 1 scoop from the gross-ass thing that comes from the back and the gross-ass bucket that they keep reusing. Just deal with the ice that you get. Deal with the ice that you get. It doesn't matter. If you don't want ice, just tell me no ice. They never specify to begin with, and then they yell at you afterwards for doing something wrong. Because it wasn't wrong to begin with, because they didn't specify. And that was something that happened a lot at this place. And freaking frustrating. I think we also had some other weird jobs that I had to do. There were like bushels of like the soybeans, and we had to like cut them into individual ones, and we had to cut off the like brown parts. I'm trying to remember what we did. This was years ago, mind you. I mean, I'm trying to recall things that happened like 8 years ago. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Something to do with the soybeans. The edamame. We would have to cut them by hand with like, some of them use scissors and some use like a butter knife. I think I was the one with the butter knife. They wouldn't let me use the scissors because they were using the scissors and it was much easier to use. And let's change it over to the staff, because I think that's another reason why a lot of people gave me a weird look whenever I said, yeah, my first job was at a Chinese restaurant. They're all like, were you the only white guy? So let's dive into that. Was I the only white guy? To answer that question right away, I was, yeah. Oh my god, I was. So I was the only white guy. I mean, there was another white person and a couple other... It was funny, though, because all of the waitresses were Chinese. They wouldn't let... There was a girl that really wanted to become a waitress. She was the cashier/bartender for a while. And by bartender, I mean there was like kind of a bar in between the cashier and the soda and the tea and the soup. And sometimes people would like sit down at that, even though it wasn't really a bar. It was weird. Just, there were some weird people that kind of frequented that place. And we didn't have a TV either, so it's not like they're watching TV. They're just kind of watching us work. We didn't at first. We did later, but that's not important. So we had her, and she was really trying to become a waitress, but you could tell that the owner, who was also Chinese, who actually came from China, so it was like an authentic Chinese place, but half authentic. We'll get to that in a second. Didn't want a white person as a waitress, because it's a Chinese restaurant, so you just expect Chinese people as waitresses, I guess. I don't know. There was always this sort of subtle hint of racism. I don't want to dive too much into racism because that's like a hot button issue with people, but there was this like subtle feeling of superiority that the other Chinese workers had over us. I mean, there were a couple of the people that went to Ironwood with me, and none of them spoke Chinese. Like, I didn't know I just told you where school I went to school, whatever. And none of us knew Chinese, and then the people that did, you could tell, would talk about us, because look, the owner was insanely strict. Like, you would have to do a rounds. Like, you know how annoying it is when you're sitting at a restaurant and you just haven't even had a bite of food yet, and the waitress comes up and goes, "How is everything today?" "I don't know yet. I haven't eaten. I literally just got the food. You brought it to me a couple seconds ago. Why are you here? Let me eat my food." I'm not mean like that to them, but that's kind of what I'm thinking in my head when I kind of give them this look like, why are you here? Like, just let me... I will tell you if the food is bad, or come back in a couple of minutes. Give me some time, you know? So she basically enforced that kind of mentality all the time. I mean, if I saw somebody's drink get a little bit below half, I had to immediately bolt to that freaking table, or she would just start like, because she'd always sit at the front of the restaurant. She was at the front right of the restaurant at a table that no one else could sit at unless it was completely full that day. She was always over there, and she was either like writing stuff or just looking stressed out or angry or just staring at us. Usually staring at us with a mix of the whole stressed out and angry thing. So she's sitting there stressed out, angry, and then like she's like watching the entire thing like a hawk. And she's watching all the employees, making sure everything is perfect. And if I missed that glass by a fraction of a second, she'd get on my case. And why, I don't know, because I did a good job there. I wanted to do the best job I could. This was my first job. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to do, amazing work. And that wasn't enough. That was not enough. So whenever she got mad at me, not only would she yell at me in English about nothing, why... I don't want to, no, I almost did it. I almost tried to impersonate her. I'm not going to do that. But she'd be like, why didn't you fill up the glass? And I was like, I just made my rounds. They must have had a sip after I got back to my post. And then she'd go off speaking Chinese. I'm not going to impersonate that either, but you'd always hear busboy in the middle of Chinese. And you're like, well, you don't have a word for busboy, apparently, because I know you're talking about me to all the other Chinese workers, or you're just angrily talking to yourself in Chinese about me. I don't get it. She was like that with a lot of people. And most of the time, though, like I said, they had that air of superiority, because if the other Chinese waitresses would make a mistake, usually she didn't get on their case as much. Now, this could be not just because they're Chinese, but also because they've known them for a while. I mean, I was only there for like a year, like I said. So I was the new guy. It was okay to pick on me. I don't know if that was it. But she also got on because finally the chick that was working at the cashier behind the bar, she became a waitress. And the few days that she was allowed to be a waitress, she would just be watched like I was, watched like a hawk, and would just get chastised for stupid things. And we also had a guy that was not Chinese become a waitress or a waiter for a little bit. I don't remember how long he was there for, but we had a couple people filter in to that position, but it was normally only one at a time, unless it was a super busy day. So that was interesting. Oh, and also they did hire a busboy for some busy days, but we rarely had two busboys. It was usually just me, no matter how busy it got. One nice thing about was if it was super dead, like Super Bowl day, we had a lot of takeout, but nobody was coming in. I could leave for the Super Bowl early. Of course, I didn't get paid, but I was in high school, so I didn't care. I was like, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. I don't really care about the Super Bowl too much. Cool, I'm out of here. Other times, I don't know, like Christmas. For some reason, the holidays are super busy, and I had to, of course, listen to Christmas music the entire holidays. But it was a break from the normal. We're nearing 20 minutes here. I'll conclude the episode soon. I guess I actually have a second episode worth of material, so maybe we'll do another Foodservice Fables in the future. Definitely not next week. Maybe the week after that. I don't want to start making you guys think that this is a weekly thing. This is not going to be a new series. Like I said, I don't have too much. I was trying to pack as much as I could into this episode, but I guess I have more than I thought. So we did get a reprieve from the usual guitar music. Now, mind you, instrumental guitar music isn't that bad. It really isn't. I mean, I love it a lot. It's great atmospheric music. You can kind of tune out after a bit. The Christmas music you could not tune out, and that was a problem with it. And it was almost great when the guitar music came back. Like, at first it was like, oh, good, Christmas music, something different. It's not the stupid guitar. Wonderful. But then it was like, oh, God, it's just the same 5 songs. I don't want this anymore. Please stop. I don't want it. And they're always terrible covers. They're never like the original songs. They're like, why do they do that? Like, not even the originals are that great for that long. Like, you want to hear the originals once during Christmas time and then never again. Because I've worked retail, I'm sure most of you, even if you haven't worked retail, you're sick of hearing holiday music after the first couple days. So, especially with these frickin' remixes that are awful. So we got to hear those wonderful remixes. Not as bad as the remixes that were at Walmart with like Justin Bieber and stuff. This was before that. So it was like just remixes, and it was the same 5 or 6 over and over and over. And I'm just like, oh, I can't wait for the guitar music. And the thing is, it's funny because I remember that guitar music like a year before I started working there, because I used to eat there all the time because it was right down the road from my house. And then years after working there, it was the same damn music whenever I walked in. It was eerie. It really is. I don't know if it's the same music now, and I don't mind talking about the owner and a lot of people that worked there, because like none of the people are still there. The owner sold it off. And oh yeah, I've got more stories. Guys. I don't want to dive into anything else. Guitar music was okay. Weird that it was on there for so long. You think they kind of would have mixed it up occasionally, bought a couple more compilation CDs. Apparently not. But there's that first episode of maybe a trilogy. I don't know how much content I have. It's kind of a stream of consciousness. So I'm hoping that I'm not saying too much. I'm hoping that it's kind of, at least a little bit on a path to somewhere. But I'm kind of remembering all this stuff as I'm talking. And it's just all flooding back to me. It's such a weird place to work. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Foodservice Fables. Thank you for watching. Leave a like down below if you guys like the video. Comment down below if you have stories about working in food service, or if you remember something just visiting in a restaurant, something that you thought was kind of odd, something kind of quirky about that establishment. Because this place, I haven't even gotten into like the weird, quirky stuff. I told you how it was only half authentic. I'm going to get into that the next episode. I'm leaving cliffhangers, guys. Got to keep you guys coming back. So yeah. This is a fun episode. This is a fun episode for me. I hope it's for you as well. Subscribe for more content. Subscribe. Hit the stupid bell, I guess. That's a thing. I keep hearing other YouTubers say hit the bell. I keep forgetting there's a bell at all. So I guess if you already subscribed, hit the bell. If you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. And just like all of my other videos, if you're working in a food service job, if you're working in any of these jobs where you have to deal with a horrible boss or customers that are screaming at you and just shoving their awful day down your throat, I still want you guys to remember that I want you to have a fantastic day. See you guys.